Hi everyone, and welcome to Turkish series stars. Settle in, because tonight's story took shape in the quiet hours when most lights in the city were already dimmed and the streets were glazed with rain. If you enjoy hearing every twist and behind-the-scenes details straight from the heart of Turkish showbiz, remember to like, subscribe to Turkish series stars, and, if you feel like supporting us even more, hit that join button. Thank you for being here, and let's get into it. While the city tried to shake off a relentless storm, an unforeseen moment rattled thousands of fans across the globe. Hazal Subaşı, cherished for her authenticity on and off screen, was driving home after an exhausting day on the set of Izaret when a chain of events turned a late commute into a frightening episode. Witness accounts surfaced first in whispers, then erupted across social platforms as the night unfolded, each post echoing the same disbelief. Hazal had been in a serious car accident as the rain hammered the roads with punishing insistence. Hours of downpour had transformed the avenue into a slick ribbon. Headlights smeared across puddles like streaks of glass, and the wind kept nudging at anything in its path. According to people nearby, Hazal reduced her speed and kept a cautious distance, her focus steady after a day that had stretched far beyond the final take. But storms don't bargain. In a split second that now feels frozen for everyone who loves her, the tires lost their grip, the car shuddered, and her vehicle swerved uncontrollably, sliding into the guardrails with a metallic cry that startled several blocks out of their late-night calm. Those who heard the crash rushed toward it, some with phones raised in panic, others with their hands outstretched to help. The priority was immediate. Make sure she was alert, get help on the way, and keep her company until professionals arrived. Messages flew to emergency services. Voices tried to cut through the rain. In the shaky glow of streetlights, passers-by urged Hazal to breathe, to focus, to stay with them as they waited for sirens to slice through the storm. It didn't take long. An ambulance and police patrols pulled up almost in unison, their lights painting red and blue streaks across the wet asphalt. Medics reached Hazal and began the first checks right there on the road, shielding her from the wind and the curious eyes gathering at the perimeter. She was conscious, but dazed. The sight of her blinking against the rain, trying to gather a sense of place, unsettled the people who had recognized her, and soon the scene was captured from every angle. Those brief clips, taken by anxious bystanders, spread online minutes later and sparked a chorus of fear and support that grew by the heartbeat. At a nearby private hospital, a specialized team took over, immersing themselves in scans and evaluations designed to catch even the quietest injury. The hours were careful and methodical. Details trickled out slowly, first to close contacts, then to the wider world. After the longest night, the first solid relief arrived, doctors determined there were no serious injuries. The diagnosis came with both gravity and gratitude, a minor contusion and a muscle strain likely caused by the impact. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't everything. It was that fragile space in between, where caution and optimism live side by side. The medical team decided to keep Hazal under observation for several days to track any delayed symptoms and ensure the recovery would be complete, not quick. Word reached Urkin Meriç almost immediately. He and Hazal have long lived inside the spotlight of collective memory, their bond frequently revisited by fans who fell in love with them years ago and never quite stopped cheering. Urkin broke his silence with a message that felt like a hand placed on the shoulder of every person who had been holding their breath. On social media, he wrote not as a headline or a statement, but as someone who knows her closely. He acknowledged the scare that had swept through the cast and crew, assured everyone that Hazal was stable and being carefully monitored, and asked for patience and compassion. His words were simple, warm, and exactly what people needed. Within minutes, they multiplied across timelines, drawing in tens of thousands of likes and replies from Turkey, Spain, Latin America, and beyond. Meanwhile, the production behind Izaret moved with determination. An official note landed on their accounts, crafted to temper speculation and focus attention on the only thing that truly mattered, her well-being. They described Hazal as a consummate professional and a generous presence on set, the kind of colleague whose energy sets the tone for everyone else. The message acknowledged that filming would be temporarily adjusted to allow her the days of rest her doctors had recommended. It emphasized that no storyline and no schedule outranks health, and that she would return only when she was fully ready. The note closed on a line that stayed with readers: "Her health comes first, always." As the night evolved into a murmuring dawn, the conversation online swelled. People analyzed the footage frame by frame, shared memories of scenes that had made them fans in the first place, and posted reflections on the pace of television work when the cameras stopped rolling. Among the many voices, one detail shone through: the overwhelming presence of Spanish-speaking fans. Over and over, messages arrived in Spanish and Portuguese from those who had discovered Turkish dramas through friends, forums, and clips that drift across platforms like little boats. They wrote that Hazal's work had carried them through breakups and finals and the solitary stretches of lockdowns. They said the accident felt personal. They said they were with her. Dear friends, before we go deeper, a quick reminder that helps us keep bringing you this kind of story with care and context. If you love staying up to date on the ups and downs of your favorite stars, and if you enjoy the intimacy of hearing how these moments ripple through crews, families, and fandoms, make sure you are subscribed to Turkish series stars. Turn on notifications so you never miss a beat, and, if you want to support our work directly, consider joining as a member. Every bit of encouragement keeps this community strong. Back to the heartbeat of the story. As the sun finally pressed through the cloud cover, Hazal's official representative released a measured update. She was resting, making steady progress, and responding well to the treatment plan laid out for her. If everything continued the same way, the representative noted, she could be home in a few days to complete her recovery in privacy. The statement also shared what many hoped to hear. Hazal had been moved to tears by the messages flooding in from every direction. She asked that a message of calm be passed along. She felt resilient, she felt hopeful, and she felt deeply thankful for the love she was receiving. The hours that followed brought more fragments of reassurance. Crew members posted small tributes to their colleague, talking about the way she remembers everyone's name, about the jokes between scenes, about the dedication that bubbles under every long day. Fans replied with their own tributes, stitching together a quilt of memories that reached far past a single incident on a rain-slick road. The community here has always been quick to rally, but this time felt especially tender. Many remembered the early days when Hazal and Urkin first shared the screen, and how that chemistry turned a job into a phenomenon. That history lent the night an extra layer of poignancy, and Urkin's presence in the conversation only deepened it. Offline, the investigations into the accident's exact mechanics continued. Police studies, reconstructions, and weather reports will do their precise dance, but what most of us will remember are the human notes, the workers who stopped to help, the strangers who shielded her from the rain, the medics who spoke gently as they checked her pulse. Those gestures become part of a larger story about how we show up for one another when the script goes off the rails. As for the wider industry, the questions followed the same well-worn path. Are schedules too dense? Does the pressure to deliver weekly episodes leave enough room for rest? How do production teams balance artistic ambition with the simple math of being human? None of these questions are new, but nights like this one press them to the surface again. Viewers asked for transparency around working hours and safety protocols, not to point fingers, but to understand the costs behind the magic. In the middle of all this, a quiet but powerful phrase floated to the top of trending lists: "Stay strong, Hazal." People said it as their status, wrote it on fan art, and slipped it into their prayers. Influential names in the industry added their voices, telling stories of shared sets and chance encounters. Writers, directors, and co-stars invoked a single hope: that she would take the time she needed, and that she would come back when the body and soul said it was right to do so. For those who look at Hazal and Urkin and see more than headlines, this episode also opened a window onto their enduring connection. They chose their words carefully, knowing that anything they say becomes part of a public tapestry, but the feeling was unmistakable. The compassion was not performative. It was rooted in years of knowing. That is what fans felt in the spaces between the words. As the day stretched on, the hospital continued its watchful routine. Vitals recorded, pain managed, mobility assessed with patience. The medical staff scheduled follow-up scans, not because they doubted the initial results, but because diligence is the currency of recovery. The expectation was plain: a few days of rest, a gentle ramp back to normal, and then a return to work only when every box was checked. Meanwhile, production logistics shifted without fuss. Scenes were reshuffled, stand-ins prepped, and departments coordinated like a well-practiced orchestra. No one framed it as a problem. It was simply what you do when someone you rely on needs time to heal. The set's rhythm would change, but the story would wait. It always does. If you've followed Turkish series stars for a while, you know we love to hear your thoughts, and this is one of those moments where your voices shape the conversation. Do you feel the entertainment world demands too much from the people who bring these stories to life? Should we dig deeper into how filming schedules really unfold over weeks that stretch long and late? Would you be interested in more in-depth looks at how actors balance work, rest, and the weight of public expectation? Tell us, because what you ask becomes the roadmap for the videos we make next. In the corridors of the hospital, the quiet moments mattered most. Visits were kept measured, messages were read by her team so she could rest, and the Minders who make a career out of discretion made sure the atmosphere inside stayed calm even if the world outside felt loud. Those who have worked with Hazal described her as determined, but also sensibly guided by the people she trusts. That combination often helps in recovery, too. You listen to your body, you follow the plan, and you give yourself grace. By evening, the sense of panic had softened into a collective patience. The flood of comments became a stream of well wishes, each one a small note on a larger melody. People shared clips of their favorite scenes, laughed in the replies about old bloopers, and reminded one another that the strongest thing a fan can do is allow their favorite artist the space to heal without pressure. It was tenderness masquerading as trending, and it was beautiful to witness. So here we are, at the end of a long day that began with a shock and ended with relief. This story will continue, but for now we have what counts: a clear diagnosis, a sensible plan, and a community that knows how to hold steady. If you've been with us for this entire update, thank you for trusting Turkish series stars to bring you both the facts and the feeling. Keep your notifications on for any developments. And tell us, which other Turkish celebrities would you like us to explore in upcoming videos, whose journeys you want to understand not just at the headline level, but at the human one. Your comments are where our next story begins. Thank you for watching, for caring, and for being a part of this family. We will see you in the next video. Until then, take good care and good night from all of us at Turkish series stars.